All right, I want to tell you about probably the most important life skill that a man needs to have in his life. Okay. Now, I've talked about some other life skills. I've talked about how reading books can change and transform your life. And I've talked about how cold approaching women is probably the biggest thing you can do for your personal development. But what I'm talking about today is the number one skill that will probably determine your happiness in life, your overall happiness in life. So this is pretty important. And if you do not develop this skill, it doesn't mean that you're going to have necessarily, well, actually it does. You will probably be having a lot of heartache and a lot of pain in your life for a very long time. Okay. And most guys never develop this skill at all. They're not even aware of this skill. So I'm not going to try and make this all mysterious or anything like that. The skill is simply this. But before you click off, if you think that you know what this skill already is, listen up, because I'm going to redefine this in a way that you probably haven't heard before. And it's probably not what you think it is. So the skill, what I'm going to call it, is being masculine in a relationship, okay? Is being able to be in a relationship with a woman as a man and to successfully navigate and lead that relationship, okay? In fact, that's how I'll define that skill, because like I said, most people don't even know what that skill is, okay? It means I'm going to give you kind of the attributes of what this skill looks like. And I can't tell you exactly how to do that in this video, okay? I'm going to give you some resources, or I'm going to give you a couple of books, all right? And it's going to be something that you're going to have to practice. And before I get even further into this, you might think, well, wait a minute, John, I'm not in a relationship. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have a wife, whatever. I'm forever alone. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what your status is, relationship status is, all right? This skill, what I'm about to tell you in this video, is still extremely, extremely important, okay? Because it will influence, if you're alone right now, how attractive you are to women to a degree. They will be able to sense this off of you. And when you understand this dynamic, you will also understand women, all right? And that's actually part of the skill, all right? So let's define this a little bit further. What does this look like, all right? This looks like being a man who can lead a woman in a relationship. It looks like being a man who totally understands the female psyche and mindset, okay? And because he understands that he can communicate with her effectively and lead her effectively to her own growth and for the benefit of children and for, the benefit of the relationship, okay? So this might seem like something that is either impossible. No, who understands women, right? Anyone who claims they do, they're crazy. They're not understandable. Or it might seem like, oh yeah, it's so simple. I already know how to operate. I already know, I watched some guys on YouTube that told me how to do this. All right. So, but it's probably neither of those things. Okay. So let me define this a little bit further, okay? And let me talk about kind of what this entails or what this looks like, all right? This looks like being a guy that can hear a woman say something, all right? And no matter what she says, that he is going to be calm and rational about it, but at the same time, he's not going to be cold and stonewalling. If it's something that he doesn't like, he's going to address it, but he's going to do it in a loving way that is taking her needs into account at all times, okay, and being fully present and open in that moment to be able to take in whatever she's saying and to be able to correctly navigate and lead her in a positive direction while being empathetic and showing her love at the same time as not being run over, demonstrating he has a backbone, okay, and not being a pleaser, a people pleaser, or a yes man. All right, that's a mouthful. It's a lot. All right, it is very hard to be that man, and that is why it's such a valuable skill. And and to really nail this down as to what you need to learn as a man specifically, it is how to deal with women. It is how to deal with a woman in a relationship and to fully really understand why is she doing what she's doing, why is she saying what she's saying, and what does she need in this moment. All right. Now, do not confuse this. All right, this is not being a doormat. It's not being a pushover guy. It's not being a people pleaser type of nice guy. It is nothing of the sort, okay? In fact, when you have this skill, the biggest weapon that you have, in fact, the biggest psychological weapon that you have, which it's not even a weapon, but the biggest thing that you have that will ensure that a woman stays loyal to you in the sense that she trusts in you, right? That she puts her trust in you, is that you are willing to walk if you are not treated correctly, if you're disrespected, okay? And it doesn't mean threatening that. It just means that you are willing, damn the cost, whatever the cost is. She knows that if she does not treat you properly, you will get up and you will walk, and you will take whatever consequence comes from doing that. Okay? She has to truly believe that in her heart. All right? So where I'm getting at with this is that if you don't have this skill, what's going to happen is you're going to get into relationships with women. All right? And you're not going to understand why they're doing what they're doing. Okay? You're not going to understand why they're acting this way. All right? And you're going to respond emotionally, and you're going to respond the wrong way, and you're going to create a wedge between the two of you. Because women are very emotionally sensitive, and they remember a lot of things, and they store up a lot of hurt, okay? And the more that you hurt a woman unintentionally, right, mostly unintentionally, then the more that she stores up that hurt, the more that she's going to start to build resentment towards you, and that's where you're going to see her start to nag you, start to disrespect you over time. Sometimes that can happen at the beginning because that has to be fixed, but you're going to start to see it's almost like she is just irritated by your presence, all right? And if you're a guy, okay, so I know some of you guys are nodding your heads, okay? If you're a guy who's been in a long-term relationship with a woman, you've probably experienced that. All right? Let me repeat what I just said. If you're a guy who's been in a long-term relationship with a woman, you've probably experienced that, okay? So I'm saying period. I'm saying most guys, right, in most relationships with women, given enough time, she will grow to be irritated by his very presence. And you can feel that when that happens, all right? And some of you guys are in denial, that's fine, all right? But you can even start to sense it creeping in. And so how do you prevent that from happening? Well, the way you prevent that from happening is that you have to understand a woman's psyche, okay, and why she's doing things. And you have to understand what drives her and motivates her, and that it is not a logical and rational thing. It is an emotional thing, and that the feeling of safety, of the validation of her emotions, of the safety of her emotional experience comes paramount in her life to just about anything else, including you, okay? And sometimes she values you so highly that she will sacrifice that thing in order to try and make you happy, but it will bleed through. Her sorrow will bleed through. All right? And I know this video is going in a totally different direction than what you thought it was, but hey, welcome. Wake up. It's time. All right? So, like I said, I can't give you the full details in this video of exactly how to do this and how to become that man. All right? If it's something that also, if you want some help with this, I do offer some one-on-one coaching. It is very limited, so there is a link down below, but let me just say that let's try some other solutions first before you reach out to me. If you really want the help with me and you really have tried things and you've really put some time and invested in yourself, then send me an email or whatever, and I'll consider it. We can talk about the situation if it makes sense, okay? And I'm not just saying that to make it seem like the coaching is scarce, by the way. It's just that I am very selective. Like I don't really want to build a business just around doing one-on-one coaching. If I did, I could have, a ton of coaching clients and just spend all my time doing that. I'd rather not do that. Okay, so let's get back to the main video. Anyway, so here's what I will say. Okay, is that if you don't develop this skill, what is going to happen is that you're eventually going to get into that state that I talked about, and you're probably going to be heading for breakups, divorces, things like that, perhaps for cheating on you, right? And so really, and what I've only talked about on this side of it is just the one part of this, right? When you're in a situation with a woman where, where things might get tense, right? There's also just what are you doing and how are you showing up as a man? And there's so much to this. It is a very complicated thing. And a lot of guys rightly argue and they say, hey, look, why should I have to invest so much? Like, why should I have to be the guy that figures things out, that has all this shit together? And then what about her? Is she not responsible for anything that she says? Does she not have to grow and develop herself? And, shouldn't she be just as responsible for understanding me, okay, and responding correctly to me, right? And the answer to that is no. Okay, I know that that comes as a shock, but the reason why is because you are the man, because you are the leader. More importantly than that, besides just being the man, is you are you. What do I mean by that? I mean that you can't make someone else change. Okay? Like if you want to produce something else, you have to change yourself, right? That's the only lever that you have to pull, okay? And so, yeah, you can blame someone else and say it would be better if they did these things, which is true, perhaps. But if you are constantly insisting on that, guess what's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen except that you're going to build resentment. Okay? So again, it doesn't mean that your girlfriend or wife can't do her own sort of personal development or spiritual practice and become better. But let me tell you the best way that it's going to happen. And this is where it does come to being the man, is really in her heart of hearts, a woman wants to look up to a man. She wants to look up to you. Okay? And the only way that she's going to look up to you is if she trusts you to be able to lead her. And if you can gain her trust, and if you can lead her, you can lead her in the direction, right? So more likely than not, the way that she responds and the way that she acts is going to be a direct reflection of you and you showing up as a man in the relationship. And if you know how to treat her, right, and you know how to validate her emotions and to make her feel safe to express her emotions and to make her feel like you are a man that has a backbone and that will lead and will stand up for himself and will move the both of you in a positive direction, whether she feels like she likes your decisions or not, because you are going to do what is right, which is not ego involved, right? That truly she knows that you're looking out for her and her best interests, then her behavior will start to really mold to that. And her behavior will start to change where she will start to value you to a very high degree. Believe me, a woman who starts to see this in a man, because it is so different than what most women experience, right? Most women are dealing with men who are on one end of the spectrum. They're either super nice guys and they're just people pleasers and just doing whatever she wants or whatever she says, and it's just pathetic, and it's like they're not even attracted to the guy, or they're dealing with a totally emotionless or has zero emotional intelligence asshole of a guy who's sexy, who's hot because he's like just does what he wants to do, and he's not afraid to tell her no, and she likes that, so he's giving her the structure that is going to turn her on and make her feel like I want to get this guy. But then she's dealing with the frustration of him not understanding her or understanding how to treat her. Okay? So most women are stuck with that dichotomy. All right? And so if they see you come along, all right, and you figure this shit out, you're not a pushover, you're not a nice guy, you're not, whatever, a simp, whatever you want to call it, okay? But you are a guy who you're a guy who stands up for himself, who will tell her no, okay? Who will put her in her place when it needs to be done, but in a loving way, okay? And still has the emotional intelligence of a person who is kind and generous and actually does value her highly, right? But also has self-respect for himself. Again, it's very hard to describe this duality. But if she sees you and you're that guy, she is going to do everything she can to hang on to you. And she's going to value you extremely high. She's going to want to have sex with you, okay? Even if it's been 5 years, 10 years that you've been with her, okay? She's going to talk highly of you to her friends, to her family, all right? She's going to do things for you. She's going to treat you in a way that you don't feel like she's irritated just being in a room with you, okay? So you've got to learn this skill. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of resources here. Like I said, in this video, you're not going to be able to learn all this stuff. I mean, what I've given you, the point of this video was to tell you that, first of all, you need to figure this skill out, all right? And then the second part of this, I'm going to give you some resources. But once you understand, I feel like once you understand what I'm describing, now you know what the target is. Now you can start to figure out how can you be that guy and what can you do to become that guy, and what are the things that you need to learn about women and how they act and why they act emotionally and how to respond to those emotional situations without being a pushover, but also not being a jerk, being kind and I would say being a guy that is a gentleman. That's how I like to describe it. Okay, so let's talk about some resources. Let me grab a book here. I've talked about this book quite a few times, but I see it. All right, we're just gonna start with this book here. For some reason, the lighting is a little bit weird. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is called The Masculine in Relationship. It is by G.S. Youngblood. All right, this guy has done a great job of putting together a book that describes how to be masculine in a relationship, honestly, right? It is the spiritual successor to David Deida's work, The Way the Superior Man, all right? So there's a lot of stuff that is borrowed from that. I think Youngblood acknowledges that. That's the other book that you could read, but this one is the one that is for relationships. So read both of those books. Read The Way the Superior Man and definitely Masculine Relationship, and go through this multiple times, all right? And study this. Okay, because it is one of the best resources that I have found about describing this. But your journey doesn't end there. Okay, if you go and you digest the things that are in this book, you're going to understand very well how women function and how you should be functioning in a relationship. But you still have to put it into practice. So then the next thing that you're going to need to do is to actually practice this. If you are in a relationship, practice this. When you're talking to the woman that you're with, let her talk and let her express her emotions and feelings, and see if you can be non-reactive to that and just be responsive, and you can be open to that, all right? See if you can change your mindset from a logical place to a non-logical place, but a caring place where you're not trying to convince anyone of anything. You're just trying to navigate life in her frame for a little bit. And when I say navigate in her frame, I'm saying from the frame of reference that she's coming from. I'm not saying that you should go into her frame and you should lose frame in a situation. No, you have the most powerful frame when you're able to see inside someone else's frame and integrate that frame into yours. Does that make sense? Okay, if you understand frame theory and you understand frames, basically when two people meet, what happens is that when two people interact, they have their frame, which is their worldview, and you have your frame, and these frames collide and only one of them can remain, right? And so if you really want to be able to get someone into your frame, which is what you should be doing as a man, a woman should be living inside your frame, okay, primarily, what you have to do is you have to understand their frame so that you can relate it to your frame, okay? If you understand a person better than they understand themselves and their problems, then guess what? Then they look to you as the source. And so then they are going to be coming into your frame. So, all right. I think that's it. I think that's about it. That's all that I'm going to talk about in this video. If you want to hear more about this kind of stuff, if you have some questions about this, obviously you can email me or you can drop a comment down below. And like I said, if you want to get some one-on-one coaching, you can shoot me a message. You can also message me on Instagram if you're interested in, financial freedom and things like that. That's not the topic of this video, so I didn't want to belabor that point so much. But I will see you tomorrow.